All right, Robby, what is on your radar today?
Well, Brianna, I'm excited to jump into my first radar of 2023, and I'd like to start by renewing a commitment on behalf of everyone here at Rising. Now, I've been the regular host of this show for over a year, and the thing I like most about working here is the ability to deliver unfiltered news to an ideologically mixed audience. You, the audience, expect to be informed and you expect to be entertained, but you don't expect us only to tell you what you want to hear. And in fact, we couldn't do that even if we wanted to, because me and my co-hosts often disagree very passionately about very fundamental things. I see that as Rising's tremendous strength and something that sets us apart from the mainstream media, which is drowning in confirmation bias, often stringing along gullible viewers and failing to ask real probing questions of the elite consensus on topics like foreign policy, the COVID response, and the intersection between social media and free speech. At Rising, we try to do something different. But it's only possible because of you, the viewers who expect the best and actually want challenging conversations. So, on that note, I'd like to start off 2023 by discussing another too good to be true media story and providing some words of caution for my colleagues in the rest of the media. And this story concerns a man named Andrew Tate. Who is Andrew Tate, you ask? Well, he was actually one of the most Googled people all of last year. Tate is a former reality TV personality who channeled some fleeting fame into a large social media presence. He made some provocative, very offensive comments about women and ended up attracting a large following, predominantly from young men who believed him to be a kind of masculinity guru. He created scam companies, pyramid-type arrangements, something he called Hustlers University, that tricked gullible people into signing up to receive secret insider tips on how to be more successful with money, more successful with women, etc. He was eventually deplatformed on virtually all social media sites, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch. He also got kicked off Twitter, but Elon Musk reinstated him after taking over the company, consistent with Musk's stated commitments to free speech. Tate is someone very much outside the mainstream, and precisely because he's been targeted by the mainstream, he ended up embraced, at least at first, by certain far-right figures. According to the Daily Beast, he visited Washington, D.C. in 2019, had dinner at the Trump Hotel, and met with far-right figures like Jack Posobiec, Ali Alexander, and Paul Joseph Watson. Fast forward to last week, when Andrew Tate tried to start a Twitter feud with climate activist Greta Thunberg, tweeting at her about all the emission-spewing cars he owns and asking for her email. Thunberg, in response, sent, I think, a pretty funny reply. You can see it here. So, are you following so far? Okay, Andrew Tate came back at her with this video.
Release some greenhouse gases. I'm obviously a stranger to online controversy. It's not something I often do. But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile. And she replied by telling me her own email address. Greta's email address is, I have small dick energy. Why would that be your own email address, Greta? Strange. I mean, obviously I don't want to assume her gender. It's 50-50, but it is what it is. I'm not actually mad at Greta. Please bring me pizza and make sure that these boxes are not recycled. Thank you. So I'm not actually mad at Greta, right? Because she doesn't realize she's been programmed. She doesn't realize she's a slave of the Matrix. She thinks she's doing good.
He went on for another minute like that. It was a very, I'm not owned sort of thing. Then after that, what happened is the Romanian authorities raided Tate's house, which is in Romania, and arrested him on suspicion of organized crime and sex trafficking. The allegation is that he forced women to perform sex acts against their will, which is a very serious charge. Everyone, including Andrew Tate, of course, is innocent until proven guilty, and at least in the U.S., I do want to offer some caution because the sex trafficking label has been slapped on a lot of bad activity that nevertheless falls well short of coercive sex. As always, apply some skepticism when listening to the FBI rattling off charges. All that said, right-wing media figures who are prone to accusing political adversaries of grooming, being part of satanic cabals, and on, perhaps should note this hypocrisy and be taking greater care not to fall for the grift of a figure like Tate, who is possibly involved in the actual crime they are constantly harping about. Maybe they should look themselves in the mirror and ask, am I the drama? Of course, this story wouldn't be finished without a massive mainstream L as well. Given Tate's history of anti-feminist speech, his downfall was widely cheered by liberals and progressives on social media, who got it in their heads that the reason Romanian authorities were able to arrest Tate is because of the pizza box in that video clip I just played for you. Assertions circulated all over social media that the Romanian police were only able to locate Tate because of the pizza company, and thus Tate's arrest was indirectly due to Greta Thunberg goading him into making that video. As the editor-in-chief of progressive feminist website Jezebel wrote on Twitter, misogynist influencer Andrew Tate and his brother Tristan were arrested on sex trafficking and rape allegations in Romania after a pizza box in his clapback video to Greta Thunberg tipped off authorities as to his whereabouts. The only problem with this claim is that it's totally made up. Independent writer Ben Dreyfuss helpfully debunked it on his Substack. Dreyfuss points out that Romanian authorities never said the pizza box had anything to do with the arrest. They never said Greta Thunberg had anything to do with the arrest. As it turns out, no legitimate news organization has actually compiled first-hand reporting to suggest that was the case. Indeed, the whole social media fervor was whipped up by Alejandra Caraballo, a progressive activist who tweeted this without any information to back it up. Now, that tweet was viewed 81.4 million times. It received 67,000 retweets and 500,000 likes. Her subsequent tweet, admitting, psych, well, that one received a measly 141,000 views, 1,000 likes, and just 94 retweets. I had to check these numbers in incognito mode because she has me blocked for some reason. So there you have it. You can appreciate Greta Thunberg's epic clapback to your heart's content, but don't invent stories about how the tweet helped Romanian authorities triangulate Tate's location. My first rated out of the year, Brianna.
Yeah, this was, look, a really fun story to see of all. Maybe not so fun if you are one of the people who has been emphasizing how afraid they are of grooming and making a lot of accusations about a lot of left-leaning accounts and sites and trans people, et cetera, for grooming. And then someone who kind of very explicitly on his website describes a business model that people have pointed out is kind of the blueprint for sex trafficking is brought down in a story like this. But for the rest of us, this felt like the most schadenfreude moment of the last 10 years and a pretty auspicious start to 2023 for those who like to see people kind of fall from grace on the internet. I think your point is well taken about the misinformation aspect of the story. It did get corrected relatively quickly, but the lie goes around the world 16 times before the truth makes one lap, and we see that here. I think a lot of folks kind of don't care because at the end of the day, I mean, it was a fun story, and even once the correction got out there, people are like, the thing that they're focusing on is Andrew Tate's reaction that, oh, how dare you tweet, which was his first response to Greta Thunberg, which felt a little, as you say, like I am not owned, corn cob meme.
Yeah.
And then the follow-up insistent tweets from Andrew Tate and his allies that, Greta was really self-owning because she listed her own email address as having small d energy, which because an epic case of sort of missing the joke and it going over his head. But I don't want to also miss the fact that these are really serious sex trafficking allegations that he has been arrested for. And as I mentioned earlier, on his website, he explains, quote, why I am an expert on all male-female interactions. He says, and what many people have been taking as a kind of admission, I've been running a webcam studio for nearly a decade. I've had over 75 girls work for me, and my business model is different from 99% of all webcam studio owners. Over 50% of my employees were actually my girlfriend at the time, and all of my girlfriends, none were in the adult entertainment industry before they met me. My job was to get women to fall in love with me. That was literally my job. My job was to meet a girl, go on a few dates, sleep with her, test if she was quality, get her to fall in love with me to where she'd do anything I'd say, and then get her on webcam so that we could become rich together. So, we'll see how the legal system...
That sounds very creepy, whether it's sex trafficking remains to be
seen
to me, but it certainly sounds creepy.
Apparently, sex trafficking experts have said that this is a common dynamic to get people, especially younger women, which he has emphasized he prefers, and that men generally prefer to date women who are in their teens.
Right. Which again, the whole calling everyone a groomer thing, maybe don't venerate this guy then.
Right, well, people are saying it's the biggest case of projection that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And all of the usual suspects who've been talking about how terrible grooming is seem to be aligned. I shouldn't say all, but many of the usual suspects are very much aligned and supportive of Andrew Tate. And
right, although I should say, there are tons of people, on all sides of the political spectrum and within the conservative movement who are like, who is this guy? I've never heard of him before. That was also a very common reaction.
Sure, but Robby, as you pointed out, he was the most Googled person of last year, and he is not as famous as he is without having a significant amount of traction with men, young men in particular, who see something in him. And I think it's worth examining for everyone, no matter where you sit on the political spectrum, why so many young men feel failed in such a way that they're seeking out advice from someone like Andrew Tate, who, as you saw in the video, doesn't seem to me to be a particularly shining example of aspirational manhood.
I don't think you're going to up your dating game by taking his advice. That would be my advice.
Yeah, look, something's going on here, and I think we need to think about that as a society. There's some young, vulnerable men out there who obviously are looking for guidance and perhaps in all the wrong places.
Yeah.
But look, it was a great story, and I'm glad you covered it.
Thank you, Brianna. All right, we'll have more Rising right after this. Stay with us.